Why epic backstories make the most cinematic campaigns. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with another story. Today we have two examples of very well done backstories that make it so easy for a DM to work them into their world and to expand on them. After listening to these two backstories, share your character's backstory. I'm playing a social outcast, red-skinned tiefling, working as a smuggler, sort of, along the Sword Coast. How can someone that's bound to be double-checked at every city gate be a smuggler, you ask? I'm just the distraction. The real contraband is 3 carts behind me in line at the gate. Hold up the line, increase the chance the following carts get waved through. Get to spend a lot of time getting talked down to by guards. It isn't glamorous, but it's honest work, which is hard to come by for my kind. And technically, I'm not doing anything illegal myself. I just hang out with smugglers and I'm complicit in their crimes, for a modest cut. Sometimes I get to row some specialty goods out to coastal trade ships at night. I like that part of the work. No people talk down to me. One night row through massive fog bank to get to the anchored ship. Icy cold. Row for a long time but don't find the ship. Can't see the lanterns on the ship anymore. Just the fog around me. Decide to call out. Big no-no in the business, but getting lost at sea is as well. No answer. Well, shit. After some time, try and get my bearings again. I decide to wait for sunrise. Got rations for 2 days and some fresh water with me. Even if I drift out to sea for 1 day, I can make it back to shore as soon as I see the stars again. A day passes, but it doesn't get bright. The fog lifts a bit, but I don't see the stars. I'm adrift in almost perfectly still, deep, dark waters. No wind, no stars, no shore or ships in sight. What in the 9 hells? This is definitely not right. No bearings means I better not waste my strength and aimlessly row. I sit there in my rowboat with a crate of untaxed spices in an endless sea of inky black water. Drift there for a while. I don't know how long. Dip my hand in the water. That was a mistake. It's icy cold, and my hand is frozen stiff when I pull it out. Have a little existential crisis. I ball up in my rowboat and let time pass. Run out of food after indeterminate time. It's really hard to keep track of time without day and night. Can feel me getting weaker, incredibly thirsty. Not long until I won't be able to resist drinking seawater. I know it's bad, but there's a madness that comes with being thirsty. If you never experienced it, you wouldn't understand. Drift in and out of hazy sleep and unconsciousness, incredibly weak. Can't resist anymore, and fill my water skin with the icy cold water. Let it warm up for a while, only it doesn't. So thirsty. Take a sip. Feels as if my insides froze solid. Fall unconscious with a thought on my mind. Why isn't it salt water? When I regain my senses, the fog is back, only this time it's filled with whispers. Great, I get to go crazy before I starve to death. Just my luck. I'm not alone in my rowboat. Startled, I try to crawl away from the stranger. Silly. It's just a hallucination. I focus my eyes, hard work, and look at it. Gray skin, pointy ears, no hair, leather armor and a cloak, a glint of steel. Looks a bit like an elf in a rebellious phase, just sitting there looking at me. All right, better imaginary weird company than dying alone. Try to say hello. Only a weak wheeze comes out. The stranger speaks up, a voice like pulling a razor over leather. You're lost in a place you don't belong to. No kidding, I'm lost. Try to chuckle, but only manage some loud exhalations. The queen says your fate is at a crossroads, devilkin. Who are you calling devilkin, you bald a-hole? Why can't I hallucinate improbably friendly women? The stranger's eyes narrow. Did I say that out loud? You have a choice to make. Steel glints as the stranger draws a dagger. The mercy of steel, and the peace that follows after. Or, my imaginary guest sure is a drama queen. King? Hard to tell. You get to live for a while longer, but not as your own man, but as an instrument of her will. Life sounds good. I long ago decided that I wasn't a quitter. Got a shit hand dealt to me being born a tiefling, but I'll be damned if I fold too soon. Wheeze out another chuckle at the drawn dagger. My subconscious can blow me. A commendable choice. The strange figure glides towards me. It presents a small, dull shard of metal as long as a fingernail. Hold still, child. As if I could move. Let myself fall into fitful sleep. Dimly remember a stabbing pain in my chest. When I come to my senses again, I hear seagulls and the washing of the ocean. I hear shouting of sailors. I hear the squeal of ropes against pulleys. A rowboat being lowered to the water. And soon after, I am saved. Get nursed back to health on board of the Swift Raven, not the ship I was to rendezvous with. Captain is a stern fellow, but doesn't share the distrust towards my kind. If you see a man adrift, you help. It be in the rules. Fun guy. Over the next week en route to Neverwinter, I regained my strength. Man, I am glad I made it out of that ordeal. I have this cold, pulsing sensation going through me with every heartbeat, though. And my dreams are very odd. Dreams of magic formulas, arcane knowledge and swordplay. Dreams of impending doom, a puppet on strings, and the dead stirring in their graves. I didn't know it at the time, but be me. Be level 1 Hexblade Warlock. Lost at Sea is really, really good. Almost as good as this next, arguably grimmer, backstory. A while back, I created a Path of Glory half-elf Dhampir paladin that swore that he would create a tale so glorious that even the gods would sing about him. So he ran into a group of chaotic good companions that ran amok across the Dragon Coast saving villages, protecting the weak, running away from child support, and sometimes skipping out on anything similarly named responsibility. The party had their past catch up to them, so they felt like they should fix and face the past head on. The cleric of Saloon, thought to have been a blasphemer, exposed the corruption in her former sect. The fighter killed a dragon that terrorized his hometown after he lied about killing it. The wizard thwarted an assassination attempt on his rival that recently became an archwizard. And the druid exiled from her grove halted a demonic horde that nearly destroyed her grove and would have spread like a disease on the land. But then the hints of my personal story came to bear, and no one was prepared for the bleak story behind Sir Bellamy Morwayn, the honorless kinslayer and butcher of the noble family, the Morwayns. Before the end, you must hear of the beginning, the birth of the monster. Plagued with the idea of dying, Lord Bran Morwayn turned to the darkness that was undeath and made a pact with a vampire queen. He would sacrifice children to her and her coven of vampires in the Shadowfell. In exchange, he would gain power and wealth beyond that of his rivals. This deal then quickly changed so that he would worship the vampire queen and build a direct link to the Shadowfell, while also creating an army for her foothold in the material plane. He would harbor many wives and mistresses to create Dhampirs by having the queen send her daughters to feast on the pregnant women before childbirth killing them. Except for Melina, the figurehead forced to watch these atrocities happen in her crippled and mute state, silently watching the growing nightmare. That was until Bellamy was born. The cheerful Dhampir ran the halls of his father's castle, unaware of his future, nor the danger that the very halls contained. He was trained by a hedge knight turned vampire in absolute loyalty to his father and their family. In his free time, he would spend with his mother, reading her books out loud and spending time with the sickly woman. Years continued by, and when his 21st birthday arrived, Bellamy was called to drink with his mother and father. Given wine from his father, he was distracted and felt his glass slip from his hands. There, when he turned around, was his mother Melina, handing him back his goblet. A warm smile flashed across her face, and she held his free hand, seemingly expressing joy he had never seen before. Once the dinner was over, his father announced the pregnancy of his wife, marking their 16th child. A few more years went by. Bellamy was knighted, and his hedge knight seemingly disappeared, leaving Bellamy hours of free time that he spent with his mother, wheeling her around the castle, into the garden, and to his surprise, the forbidden north wing. As they came through the halls, Melina was writing a letter in her chair, and she instructed Bellamy to search the halls with more than just his eyes. He started to notice odd things. The air was stale. No sound breached the windows. The evening sky through the portals was darker than usual, and they were going down a steady incline. As his surroundings started to come to bear, his mother finished the letter and instructed him not to read it until he was alone. As they continued along, he smelled it first. Blood. They crept forward, and there he saw it in its full force. There, a pregnant elven woman hung, nailed to the wall in a blood-soaked room that would give nightmares to all those who didn't expect to see the sight. His senses started to come too. His mother was only half-elf. His father was human. So how were all of their children half-elves? How did their hair change colors? Their skin tones not match up? He was about to demand an answer from his mother, but the look of sadness pleaded with him not to proceed with the thousands of questions he wanted to ask her. They had to leave the north wing. As they escaped, Bellamy couldn't bring himself to ask her how and what was happening. And when he was about to hit him, Melina was not his mother. Things fell into line as he paced his room, and his fingers found their way to open his letter she had written to him. And there, his horror grew. The letter explained everything. The women, the children, the vampires, his siblings, his own heritage, and finally how she spared him from a fate far worse than death, servitude. He kept reading, and his heart, if he could even call it that, froze in horror as he saw what she wanted him to do. He didn't drink the wine intended for him years ago. Instead, Melina swapped out her goblet with his own. His goblet that contained the blood of his father and the vampire queen, along with an elixir that would have made his actions their command. She saved him. At the bottom it read, Kill everyone, my son. You can be the only one to save the legacy of my soul. Kill your brothers and sisters, your concept of your father, and most importantly, me. This will stop his operation in its tracks. Please, son, I beg you." That night, Sir Bellamy Morwayn donned his armor, sharpened his sword, and grew the resolve no man should ever do. He crept through the halls and came upon one of his brothers first. He couldn't do it. He couldn't bear to kill his own kin, but his brother awoke and moved first. In the scuffle, Bellamy accidentally plunged his sword into his brother's heart, killing him, and thus his innocence was destroyed. At his feet and in his hands, the blood of his brother soaked his armor and proved that he was a monster. Over the course of 10 minutes, Bellamy had changed into a heartless murderer that killed his brothers and sisters in their beds, in the privy, in the halls, as they tried to escape, and cowering in their corners, pleading for him to stop. He started to burn the place with the one spell he bothered to learn, and the horror of what he was doing came to a stop as he stood over his mother. No, Melina in her bed, tears streaming from his eyes as she held out her hands to guide the sword that would slay her to her chest. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't slay the only woman that showed him compassion, that protected him from the shadows. He couldn't kill her. So, he didn't. That night, leaving the burning castle was a lone cart with 2 figures in it as they set forth towards their future. The party, after catching wind of a few letters that had been delivered to Bellamy in the path they were going, chose to steal the letters and read them, confirming that Bellamy Morwayn was actually Sir Bellamy Morwayn, and the sender of the letters was a woman named M.M. Jealous, the druid confronted Bellamy, her fiancé at this point, about his letters, to another woman, and he said they were to his mother Melina in Averska. With the help of the wizard, they teleported over to Averska to greet Melina, and were horrified to find that Bellamy is such a sweet woman from them, until they discovered that she was trying to warn Bellamy that his father had survived, along with 3 of his siblings, and the vampire queen was using the chaos in the Dragon Coast to expand a secret army once more. Being the heroes the party is, they set forth to stop this from happening. They dug into the old life that was Bellamy, and was horrified by the recounting of his childhood, and the news that Bellamy was a Dampier, and that he murdered his family in cold blood. They quickly saw the man that would find a reason to laugh and joke about everything was changed to be believed to be a monster. In the end, it was the druid that changed his beliefs, and to stop holding on to a guilt that was not of his own making. To this day, they moved to Castle Hoppendale to stop the mad Lord Morwayn and his vampire queen allies from endangering the stability of the Dragon Coast any more than they already have, and maybe to set right the name Morwayn. Backstories are the foundation of your character. They are fundamental and so critically important to the development of the game and how you interact in the world the DM is creating. These are 2 great examples of some solid character backstories. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our videos are posted every Tuesday and Friday, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.